All right, thanks everyone for joining. This is the editor group monthly meeting, June 10th, 2021. And I will admit that I don't have a lot in the EM update section because I'm not your EM and I don't have a dashboard handy. I didn't prepare OKR progress. So I'll just say that one thing I did look at is it appears our say-do ratio has gone way up from last time. So we have rebounded from that dip, and it is likely what Roman had written in the notes, that it was just a lack of proper maintenance and upkeep of our labels that led to artificially lower count last time. So 77% say-do ratio, if 83 if you don't count things that we all reprioritize mid milestone. So great work. This is above our goal, and yeah, I'm not your EM, but I am here, and we can talk about narrow MR rates another time. I couldn't find a dashboard to track this. If anybody has one handy and can share with me the progress there. I don't expect that it, you all have been creating many MRs, so I don't expect that there's anything to worry about here. And I know our OKRs are being tracked. I know Darva's working on them with everyone, and you have your personal OKR, Dennis, that I know you have some work planned in 14.1 for. So we can probably just sync up on those in the issues themselves. Moving on to the strategic product update section, which I'm more comfortable rambling about, but I'm very excited about the work that is coming in 14.0. I mentioned this before we hit record, but I've been really enjoying using the new top and left navigation behind the feature flag, and I forgot that it's behind the feature flag, so I'm very excited now that other people get to experience it shortly. We can work async on making sure that the communication is tight and that the feature flags get turned on by default at the appropriate time. But I'm feeling very happy with where we are, and just really excited because it's all falling into place. And I know you've all been working really hard on it, probably spending more hours than you should to make sure we get this in for 14.0, and I do appreciate it. I promise I won't do this to you again, at least not until 15.0. So let's celebrate, take a breath. Hopefully 14.1, as we finish planning, it won't be quite as stressful. We have a lot of great work that we want to get done in it, though. So that might require a little bit of cleanup on the settings in nav. I know I previously talked about how we want to shift focus, but I don't want to swing the pendulum too far in the other direction and forget about some cleanup work. So we're going to try and find a good balance there and focus on only the most critical refinements to the navigation work, and shift our attention back to things like the source editor, and continue to double down on the progress on the content editor, which per my next second point after this is getting lots of attention, and it's very exciting as well. The two bigger strategic things that I want to push for this month is understanding some opportunities around rethinking our commit flow. And we talked about kind of building a component that could handle any kind of Git actions that we want to throw at it, and then maybe behind the scenes working on improving the performance and resilience of that endpoint so that we can make it not take 25 seconds to create an MR or something along those lines. Based on the feedback we got from the static site editor, I think it's relevant anywhere that we start introducing a commit flow. This could be used in the web IDE. It could be used in a future pages-based wiki knowledge base product offering. So we have opportunities, just like we've done with the content editor and the source editor, to build something reusable and extensible, or at least customizable, that could bring value to a lot of different categories, most of which we own, but some of which we don't. That's going to take probably a little bit of planning. It's not something we'd ship in 14.1, but I'd like to, I was talking to Michael in our design sync, I'd like to set up a think big session so we can really just think about the problem, and we'll get that scheduled for when I'm back from PTO so that we can start looking at it at a high level and then carve out something maybe for like 14.2 that we can plan on just like a small iteration towards. And then as I already mentioned, and we've talked about before, I think 14.1 is a great opportunity to start exploring the technical requirements and feasibility of a pages-based static site, wiki-like knowledge product, whatever we want to call it. We can start calling it handbook. It may or may not stick, but a handbook feature that is wiki-like in its problems to solve, but based on what we've learned with the content editor, based on how we want to introduce a merge request flow and a pipeline-based approach. So that's something I'll be trying to define some baseline requirements, and then maybe either another think big session or some kind of brainstorming on some of the technical challenges that we would need to overcome there to validate that approach in this next month. I had, shifting gears, I had a great conversation with some of the folks on the plan team about their vision for the issue and epic description experience, and how you the conversation started as a way to understand what we might be able to do to bring conversations and comments up into the description itself. And it kind of evolved into just us sharing our visions and roadmaps for both of those areas, and how the content editor being introduced into the issues could help them achieve some of their goals, and where we might need to extend our vision wider to support some of the workflows that they're thinking. But I will post the video, which was recorded. It was a good conversation, and the designers are thinking big about the problems that they're trying to solve there. In the main takeaway, though, is that once we can get content editor in there, there are a lot of opportunities, especially around embeddable content. If you could embed like a roadmap view or something like that, providing a way to create extensions that they can build custom UI around the drafting experience to extend beyond even GitLab flavored Markdown, or introduce the ability to query something and then output HTML into the editor itself. That's some really interesting stuff they're thinking about. So this is not something we need to ship now, but for thinking about the long-term opportunities for the content editor as a tool that the issues and epics can take advantage of, I think there's a lot there. So that's kind of what's on my mind. We'll be tightening up the 14.1 issues by tomorrow, because I need to record the kickoff video. So hopefully we'll have those pretty much locked in and ready to go today. I have a meeting with Darva this afternoon, so I think that's where we'll kind of tighten things up. And again, thanks for really just the amazing work on the navigation and the content editor. It's so great to see it hit production.
So Eric, where are we focusing our efforts on the content editor for 14.1? Like, which are the features that that are of interest for us in the coming 1-2 milestones?
I think for the content editor, our focus should be almost entirely on just getting to full support for GFM, but tables and images are probably our biggest focus for the next two. If for some reason we can ship those quickly, like there's plenty of other things like mentions or labels or things like that that probably would be really helpful, although maybe less used in the context of a wiki. They are important to build the support for that. I think getting a really strong like image and yeah, I think the images and tables are probably the two top priorities. And then so starting next milestone, we'll have a yeah, let's just do collaborative live editing. 14.2, I'll announce it right now, right? So we've got a product intern starting in 14.1, and I'll be working with him to break down the concept of embedding snippets, which I think is another really exciting problem to solve. So an MVC there for how we can handle embedded content in the content editor and how we can display like browsing your available snippets for inclusion in the content editor. There's a lot of interesting problems to solve there. The work that I'm hoping that we will achieve in 14.1 and 14.2 is to take the problem and break it down into something really small that we can ship in 14.2. So that'll probably be the other big one. Well, the use case there is like, what if we didn't need to use code blocks anymore and you could just create a snippet and embed it in your wiki, and that way your code blocks are dynamic and updated in the same place live. Himanshu,
Sounds exciting.
Himanshu, I ran into that when I was working on this data dictionary issue, which Fran knows all about. And I had 45 checkboxes, and I was just wrapping it up, and I swear I reloaded that page so many times.
Yeah, when you have to do that, I actually just edit the page and like check them all in Markdown.
Yeah, should have done that. Also, by the way, so that's on the record, Fran, thank you for jumping in on that data dictionary issue for me. That has been lingering for 2 milestones in the back of my mind, and I have not wanted to bother any of you because you're all working so hard. And I kept thinking, I can do this myself. I know I can, and it's just, I could not do it myself.
No, I mean, it's easier for me than for you because I implemented most of the metrics. So I know where to look, and I just had to remember which mechanism was using them. So no problem at all.
Thank you.
Thank you for handling that.
I would have pushed it off another milestone if I could have, but they really wanted it done for 14, and I did the best I could. But yeah, thank you, and for Chad for helping me get the GDK up in the previous milestone. I was at least able to take a stab at it first. All right, so open Q&A. Amy's got the first one.
Yeah, so I wanted to show the engineers what happens when the work goes downstream to the technical writers. The moral of the story is that Amy is very bright, except when she is very stupid. And we had both of those moments yesterday, and we didn't catch it for 2 milestones, but we caught it yesterday. So I look competent instead of really stupid. So thanks, Paul. So we knew ahead of time that we needed to scope out all of the changes that were coming to the documentation as a result of the changes to the left nav and the top bar. So I did the ones that I caught, but I missed a big one. In hindsight, you'll remember that Amy has not discussed in the last 2 milestones how many pages actually mentioned the admin area. She talked about group overviews and project overviews, but never talked about the admin area. because I missed it in the screen caps.
Sorry, Amy, and user profile.
We have 5 different panels
Okay.
when it comes to the left panel.
Okay. Send me the text strings to look for and I'll do a grep. The stuff that's in the left nav is proving to be not that complicated. It's actually admin area that I wanted to talk about here. I want you all to imagine the horror that comes when you're a week out from a release. You discover that you have several hundred pages in the docs that all need to be changed, and you have 12 people who are about to go all in on this. How do you do it? So the answer is actually in issue 333265, which I linked in the Q&A section. What we did, we broke it down by stage. Currently, every technical writer has the results of a grep we check your pages, and then we look for strings that match admin area. And we're assigning each of these out to the technical writers so that they're only working on pages that they're familiar with. And what you should see over the next week is that these pages get updated in parallel as we get closer to 14.0. And this, by the way, is why we pushed so hard to get that metadata at the top of docs pages, because we have a standardized grep that we run all the time that starts with, okay, just go find me all the pages for this group and then do something horrible with it in grep. And that has allowed us to do multiple types of issues in parallel in this way. Like, for example, master to main changes across all of our doc set, also coming due in 14.0. But I thought you might be curious to hear how this comes to be once you decide to make a UI change, what we do, and then how we actually implement it. And I'll be going through and cleaning up whatever else doesn't get done between now and the 16th, because we need the docs to match. So, as I was saying to Eric yesterday in PM, we're okay. Did I feel dumb for not catching that the wrench had moved because I don't normally see it every day? Yes, but we caught it in time. We're fine.
So do you know that there's also an enter and leave admin mode there too, if that's relevant at all?
Oh man.
A what?
You're getting deep, Chad.
There's also an enter and leave admin mode.
I'm not sure I like you anymore.
Yeah. The number of contexts that GitLab has for any feature is it's combinatorially complex.
Yes.
But there's actually a special, and this actually shows up in our top nav. This is what Chad's highlighting. It's something that we weren't totally aware of. We ran into is there's an admin setting to set that admins should enter their password before they do an admin thing. So
Okay.
how that manifests is next to the wrench, there is a enter admin mode button.
Or if you're in it, a leave admin mode.
Yeah.
Okay. Did this move as part of this change?
It sure did. You better
Uh-huh.
believe it.
Okay. So we'll need to check on that. And this was actually why I wanted to bring this to all of you, because I think we did a pretty good job catching the major use cases, but we're still learning how to communicate changes like these from engineers to technical writers. And this way you see what we figured out and what we didn't.
Yeah, that's huge. I love the way you organize it and parallelize the work is on point and is really beautiful. So
Yes.
that was really cool.
That
Thanks
was
for sharing.
actually personally my work, so thank you.
I could tell this is Amy getting stuff done, and it was really cool. So that yeah.
Yeah. You haven't met me, but you've met me. Okay, so if you are aware, looking at you, Chad, of items that are changing in 14.0 that I did not cover in the issues that are linked here, I need to talk to you because I need to make sure that our docs are right. So we've got time. Let's take care of it.
I think that's all of the items that have moved, but as far as admin mode, we could do a search for that.
So yeah, this is why I need to be here in these meetings. I learn things. All right, floor is yours, Eric.
I'm actually done. So the floor is now everybody else's. Any other questions, topics to bring up, jokes?
I think this highlights something something that this is an obstacle that hits us in engineering, across engineering technical writing, but we have some vague idea of what each other are doing, but in the week we're not totally aware of the changes in the state that other people are doing. Our weekly status updates are kind of like, here's what I did. But it would be really neat to, because, you know, this small thing that happened, like, I'm becoming more and more convinced that somehow when everything is transparent and all the information is out there, then nothing is visible and you're not going to be able to see anything. So somehow there needs to be a level of collaboration where there's just, because I don't have to collaborate with everybody, but if we do the network right, then I'm only just one node off from any kind of information that might be relevant or something. So it's like, I think when we were doing, right now, we've kind of been pairing up on issues, which is cool, but it's been Chad and I have been pairing up on this issue. So one solution to this is, which Chad has taught me the term promiscuous pairing. Namely that we make sure we're always syncing up with lots of different people, which is I think helpful. And I know earlier, a couple of weeks ago, Dennis and I conflicted on an MR where I was pushing the startup CSS that included Dennis's old changes, and wasn't aware of whatever it's gonna. And there's no way I would have been, and there's no way that he would have been aware that this thing was getting merged just now, because we do kind of operate in silos that have radio communication every once in a while. So there's an obstacle here, and I think it's highlighted with what Amy's felt from the technical writing perspective, but even across engineering, there is some sort of an obstacle here that'd be interesting to find ways to address.
Yeah,
so go ahead, Chad.
I was going to say, the point there is that spending time with somebody just raises things that you don't think of. Because now I'm sort of kicking myself. I'm like, yeah, I knew that was moving, and I knew it was hidden, and I even dealt with it extensively as part of updating the feature specs. I really should have let you know, but did I think of it? No, because my head wasn't in doc land. But if I would have, I don't know, paired with you on some docs, I bet I would have thought of it.
And I'm open to that, by the way, especially since in the last few months, as bless you, Paul, you can attest, I'm tackling more merge requests that are a blend of docs, UX, and front end. So what you're working on is of more interest to me than you might realize, because I'm trying to learn how to do it. So yeah, put stuff on my calendar.
So in an office setting, in an organization that would favor lots of meetings, this would be something that where somebody would recommend we have a daily stand-up, and we say what you're working on or what you've completed yesterday, what you're working on today, are you blocked by anybody, the typical like agile stuff. So without recommending that we do a daily stand-up, because nobody wants that and it doesn't work for asynchronous communication, and I certainly don't want more meetings on my calendar.
Stand-up. We do a daily async stand-up.
Well, yes, a daily async. So I guess what I'm getting at is, do we need to get tighter about the format and consistency of that daily stand-up?
I'm muted. Sorry. I think there might be a small tweak we can make, which would improve that. So I am, to my embarrassment, I contribute very little to our async stand-up, and I'm sorry about that. But perhaps if instead of it being on a separate channel, I've seen other groups do this, where it's all on the same channel. Do we just have one group editor channel where we get the stand-up updates and we see other people pinging questions? It's just all there. That might be helpful.
I'm not a fan of that.
Okay.
I
To noise message.
Exactly. I prefer them separated. Yeah.
Is possible. For the record, I think it would have a tendency to get lost in the shuffle, and we don't need everybody to see the stand-up updates unless we separate the concerns a little bit. I feel like our stand-up questions are a hybrid of how you doing and also like specific stand-up stuff. So I think maybe the iteration here is to just get a little more tight on the purpose of those questions and try and get the information that we're looking for that will help close the loop here. And maybe, but I also like, I feel like, Paul, I've been very busy this week and I haven't answered, I don't think, any of them. Like it's a problem. But yeah, I don't know.
I don't necessarily know that stand-up would be the right tool to solve this particular problem, because things would have been said like working on the menu, like maybe moving the admin button, or I don't even know what it would have caused me to mention this. Maybe only the fact that I'm struggling with like admin mode in the feature specs, but that's so technical I might not even have mentioned that, because I did mention I'm working on this as part of my stand-up post anyway. So I think it's more of a different, deeper kind of integration than stand-ups are by design superficial.
I think you're totally right, Chad, because I do think something goes, and we used to have a front-end department-wide kickoff to catch conflicts and stuff. But when you have these like announcement sessions, the quality of information, it doesn't carry, and the quality of people hearing it too, it doesn't carry, and then it really can just end up being a time sink. So I agree, there's a risk there.
Maybe if we integrate the documentation as part of the design process, where when we are implementing any changes, we would from the ground up like build the list of things that we have to change. For example, like if we are designing our strategy to deliver the navigation changes in many merge requests, I guess that we came up with a list of things that we have to change. So maybe in that list we say, hey, we have to make like, I don't know, to create some awareness that list should be also like relevant to documentation changes. At the same time, it's like instead of having like 2 development cycles, one for documentation, one for the implementation of the change, we have a single one from the beginning.
So we already have a checkbox. I'm not sure if it's on the issue template or the MR template that says, are there documentation changes for this? As far as this particular top nav, I think that's like buried in some parent issue that I haven't looked at for weeks because we're deep 3 leaves down on MR implementation. But there like is a process for this already. You should be thinking about this when you look at that checkbox as part of the issue.
And our MR checkboxes too, like if you're like it says, and our MR to-do list is like, hey, okay. Does documentation need to be updated? But it was
even less of an excuse for missing this, Paul.
But what's hard, I just tried to do a search just now through the docs for admin mode. I didn't see anything. I saw maintenance mode, but that does still, I don't know if we haven't documented it somewhere. So the traceability of what we're changing to where it lives in the docs can be a huge challenge too. I should have searched on Google. That's what I should have just been searching on Google. Why was I using GitLab search?
Hang on, I think I got it.
Probably need to use an IDE.
Yeah. No, something to think about. I think the level of awareness that of what we're all doing has grown significantly over the past year-ish. So I feel, but it does sound like there's still some obstacles to overcome and be interesting there.
Well, and also I also want to plant the idea that it's not just on the engineers. You should be expecting more of your technical writer too. You can and should loop me in on issues and say, hey, Amy, do you think this would change stuff? And I love being asked that early. You're not imposing. I'm delighted when I see those, because sometimes they'll say, oh yeah, no big deal. And sometimes I'll say, and start making a lot of issues. And that's my job. So I think that's a bit of a change in how this team has worked. Bring me in. Happy to.
Can we add a label to an MR so that you may see like, hey, some engineer thought this will do something?
Add me as a reviewer.
Okay.
And I'll just follow the standard process.
The reason why I mention a label is I know there's a huge motivation for like, it could get a lot when a MR is going through multiple engineering reviews, and then we have database reviews, and then the docs, which technically can be handled asynchronous, are like part of that MR being merged as like a blocker to that. It would be interesting if maybe there's a way for docs to review it asynchronously. And that might, I'm thinking across our whole front engineering team, of being able to include when I have a screenshot and I'm clearly making a user-facing change, being able to include something like, I don't know, I can't find anything with docs, so I don't know if I need to do this, but I need someone that does know to look deeper. Maybe, and a bit asynchronous. I don't know if adding as a reviewer would be helpful there, because that may communicate to maintain. Okay.
It would. And we can just say, yes, this is fine. Oh, wait. And then we can mark it. If it's truly not needing us, we'll throw in the TW finished label.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
It's like maybe we can use the reviewer tool as not as a way of blocking, but just like as a way of closing the feedback loop. Just like sharing knowledge. Mm-hmm. And it shouldn't be like a blocking like review request. It's just like, hey, Amy, I'm working on this. Maybe you are interested. Maybe this is going to be relevant at some point.
I personally would like that. I cannot guarantee that my entire team would be on board with it. Some of them would scream at the volume of to-dos that would come in. They put me on create because I can handle high volume. Bring me the information. Did you just do a party parrot?
So pump up the volume. Yeah, that's what's going in my head. I did. Cool. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you for Eric, thank you for letting me hijack your meeting.
It's your meeting too. This is no hijacking involved. This is great. Anything else we want to cover? Because I actually do have another meeting to get to, but we are still within our time frame. If you have any other topics to cover. All good. Thank you again, everyone, for your hard work over the past few months and forever. You always work hard, but specifically the past few months. Please find a way to celebrate next week while I'm not here, and we will reconvene, and I will say thank you again. Take a deep breath once you hit those final merge requests, and yeah, I'll see you soon. Thanks, everyone.